Autumn had begun apace at Chateau de Pican, and whilst we'd been enjoying plenty of warm and sunny weather, the forecast predicted a lot of rain in the coming days. I wanted to harvest as much of the fallen tree as I could manage before the rain set in, so it was time to whip out my little chainsaw. It's important to pull the trigger of any power tool twice before using it. Apparently it's a man thing. There were a lot of thin branches that needed cutting and clearing to allow access to the larger ones. This was going to require music, and for me to work at about 8 times the normal speed. My ever-present Lumberjack Spaniel Bunty was on hand to help where needed. To be honest, she wasn't needed anywhere, but that never stops her. Firewood aside, this tree will provide us with enough kindling to last all winter and beyond. Whilst the battery-powered chainsaw does come with its limitations, it wouldn't be able to cope with the main trunk of the tree, and the battery lasts about 20 minutes and takes about 2 hours to charge, I can't otherwise extol its virtues enough. It's not too heavy, the blade stops quickly, it's robust, it has a built-in blade sharpener, not limited by a power cable. I just wish I had a second battery for it. I don't know if you can hear any background noise other than the trees rustling, but there's military helicopters circling round us at the minute. I don't think I've done anything wrong. So currently I've got to this stage, and this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. Helicopters are coming back. Because if I cut that lower branch that's coming across and down to the ground, or the archway that's coming down to the ground, they could very well be supporting the weight of the rest of it. So I've got to be extremely careful in case I cut one and then the whole thing suddenly collapses a bit further. I don't want to be under it or near it if it does that. The raineth cameth, but not before we pile the wood up near the house. I will build a wood store, but not today.
Welcome to Jane's Find of the Day with Jane.
Hello and welcome to this week's Find of the Day at Chateau de Pican. Today I'm going to be talking about this rather interesting lady. She's made of metal, possibly tin. She's designed to stand on the ground. She's clearly decorative. But what else is she for? I couldn't help thinking she must have some kind of purpose. When my daughter was visiting, Anna, she said she thought this lady looks like she's hiding something. So she's designed to have something behind her, and Anna suggested we could use her to hide some wellies in the hall, which I thought was a really nice idea. But I still didn't fully know what she might be until I found an identical one described as an early 20th century fire guard. So she was designed to be placed in front of a small fireplace, probably in a bedroom where they would be quite small. And yeah, so that's her job, to stop any sparks from getting onto the carpet in a bedroom. She's rather lovely, and I have found some examples of her, sometimes slightly different colours. I've also found the same design rendered in brass and copper, so I presume they would be more valuable than this one. But interestingly, the identical costume, the identical face and hairstyle, so it was obviously something that for a while was reproduced multiple times. I think she's really rather beautiful.
Whilst I'm waiting for the sander belts to arrive so I can continue work on the bottom step of the back stairs, I'm still here in the back kitchen, and I thought I would repair this pane of glass. When we got here, it was already broken and held together with sticky tape, and then in the summer it got really hot and then the glass started to fall out, so I thought, well, I'd better repair it, hadn't I? So we went out and we bought a sheet of a pane of glass, measured to fit perfectly, obviously. So I'm going to try and take this off the wall, clean it up, get the glass out, get it ready, put the new bit of glass in and put it back up. What could be simpler?
Once I'd removed the frame, I set about scraping out the old putty. Some of it was extremely stubborn and didn't want to be removed, thank you very much. Removing the broken glass was trickier than I expected. I didn't want to cut myself or damage the frame whilst cleaning it. Once all the glass was out, I scraped out as much of the old putty as I could before sanding down the whole window frame. In case you're interested, I used 120 grit sandpaper. I brushed on a layer of linseed oil to protect and nourish the wood and left it to soak in for about half an hour. Next, I fitted the glass to ensure my measurements had been correct. They were. Phew! Next up was to run a bead of putty along the recess to bed the glass onto. This being my first window repair, and also a long time since I did GCSE ceramics, it took a while to get a good system of rolling putty worms. Once all the worms were in and smushed down, it was time to lower the glass into place. I gently pressed the glass to bed it firmly into the putty. This helps to ensure there are no gaps that could collect dirt or water. The most nerve-wracking part of the job was securing the glass with nails. I know that glazer's points are a safer method of securing the pane, but I didn't have any. I was losing daylight and decided to finish the window in the morning. he's a lumberjack and he's okay. Watch as this intrepid woodsman tackles this monster tree with ease. Using only his bare hands and some gloves, a chainsaw and an axe, this wood leviathan will topple as surely as Goliath to David's sling. You know what they say, if at first you don't succeed, try hitting it with an axe. One finely honed skill is coaxing the tree in the right direction, or giving it a jolly good shove in layman's terms. Look, the tree's waving. Give it a wave back. He's slipping it in and out of the cut like a pro. When all's said and done, we mustn't forget to shout, "Timber! Timber!" Now off to the paper mill so little Geoffrey will have something to write on at school. All in a day's work for our rough and rugged and dashingly handsome wilderness men.
The moment that perhaps none of you have been waiting for.
So, she's a fire guard, and a much more interesting one than a lot of fire guards, which can be quite plain and clumsy looking. She's elegant and interesting, and very much for the boudoir of a beautiful young lady, perhaps. Anyway, in terms of what she's worth, well, you can pick one up in France on Le Bon Coin, which is a free ad site, for €40. But she has also been sold in the States in an estate auction in 2021 in America for $150. So it very much depends who's buying and who's selling. So she's not worth a fortune, but she's a very lovely thing.
I didn't finish this last night because I was starting to lose the light. It was getting a bit dark in here. And, I've been chopping trees all day, so I was quite tired. And so I thought I'd have a rest. So this morning, my plan is to finish puttying around what is technically the outside facing part of the window. And this is the top. Okay.
Brushing down the door was a much dustier affair than I imagined, with decades of dirt and spiders, webs and dead insects to deal with. Once it was all clean, I brushed the window frame with linseed oil to help protect the wood. We had to build a small platform for my glamorous assistant to stand on so she could lift the window high enough. Ultimately, I'd like to give the whole door a more thorough restoration, but for now, I just wanted to get it weatherproof.
So, we should now be able to keep the rain out. like that. Great, thank you for your help. So, yes, it's still dirty. There's still smudged bits of linseed oil and putty paste around the place. And I'm going to go over this edge here just to make sure that any condensation runs off. But the most important thing before it's perfectly finished was to get it in, because the bad weather's coming and having a big open window in a cold chateau isn't the best thing to have. So it's in and it's on, and I'm quite happy with it. And so as the putty dries, I'll then be able to sort of sand it down, tidy it up. But at least we're now not getting drafts in the house.